What do you think of all the noise surrounding Sean Payton possibly to the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we're all just sort of getting over the news of him leaving New Orleans, but I don't know that he's leaving New Orleans just to go to Dallas. I don't think he's going to coach this year, period. He's 58 years old. He's made more money than he can count. I think sometimes you just have to enjoy yourself a little bit. I think he may just take the year to do that. Maybe he'll do some television or something, but something a little lighter lifting than what he's used to.
Where do you put Payton in the hierarchy of coaches? A lot of people here are saying, wait a second, him and Mike McCarthy basically have the same resume. On paper, they line up almost equal to each other. Maybe they both should have won more titles with the quarterbacks that they had. Where do you put Payton in the coaching tiers?
Well, I put him up there. I mean, he's a top 5 coach in this league. He's a perennial winner. He's won with a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's won without him. I just think that I think he's just a special guy that knows how to lead an organization. He's got a ton of energy. He's got a lot of bright ideas. I'm not looking to compare him to anybody. I think he stands on his own. And so just being around him and how he thinks and how driven he is, there's just not many guys that can do the things that he has accomplished.
What do you think the difference between him and Mike is, McCarthy, as a coach, like on the level?
Well, Mike didn't call plays this year or last year. I mean, Sean would never give up the play. He would never give up play calling duties. That's his baby. Like that New Jersey diner menu in his hand, it's never leaving his hand. He's not giving that to somebody else. So, that's part of it. I just think his tentacles reach further, whether it's the draft or whether it's the play calling or play design. I think just control. I think he would never give up a lot of what he did in New Orleans.
You think he'd be an upgrade here?
I think Sean Payton would be an upgrade anywhere he went. I mean, not just Dallas, but anywhere. I mean, pick a coach outside of Bill Belichick. Where wouldn't he be an upgrade?
Well, that's why we're asking.
Yeah.
You. Brian Baldinger here on 105.3 The Fan. I heard you got a little bit fired up talking about Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. Is that true?
Well, people just want to trash Jimmy. Like he's just, they could have won with, they could be at the NFC Championship game without him. I understand. Like they're just looking at stats, and the guy's tougher than Texas shoe leather. The guy knows how to lead. He's got the respect of everybody in his organization. He's playing injured. It's not always the prettiest, but here he is. For the second time in 3 years. So he's won 4 playoff games. Just show me the resume of all these quarterbacks that are better than him, and show me their resume over the last 3 years and what they've done and how many playoff games they have. So I don't think he needs to be defended. I feel like sometimes, I'll go do it because nobody else seems to want to do it or really look at the matter. And so if somebody thinks that Trey Lance could be in the NFC Championship game if they just played him, all right. We don't know that because we can't go back and replay the season. But I highly doubt they would be, just based on the limited, play that he had this year.
You re-signing Jimmy if you're John Lynch or giving him big money if you're another team?
The San Francisco's made their move. They made the move to go draft Trey Lance. And when you do that and you give up all the draft capital you did to go from number 12 to number 3 to draft him, the clock starts ticking on the rebuild, not necessarily rebuild, but on your playoff run with them the day that you drafted him. And so he started a couple games this year, played a little bit. To sit him longer than that doesn't really make sense to make the trade that they made. But if you're somebody else, if you're Washington, I don't know, pick a team out there that looks quarterback hungry. You could go. I think it'd be a good signing. You just have to say, okay, he's probably not going to play 16 or 17 games for you. That's probably not going to happen with his injury history. And that's one knock on him.
Brian Baldinger, NFL Network. Baldy's breakdowns on the Diamond Factory Hotline every Wednesday here on 105.3 The Fan. How worried should the Rams be with this matchup?
Well, they should be worried. I mean, but they, if you're the type of team that gets worried, I don't think they actually are. But Von Miller hasn't lost 6 straight to the San Francisco 49ers. So and Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't lost 6 straight. I mean, to them, they lost a nail biter in Week 17, and they got whipped pretty good on a Monday night. But it's a contrasting styles. The coaches know each other. They both could call each other's plays. It's just a matter of execution right now. The Rams couldn't put them away, but it looks like they have problems putting anybody away. They let teams, back into games like we saw on Sunday. And so, Niners, whether Trent Williams plays or not, they know they can run the ball against the Rams. And if they can run it 35 times or more, like they did against Dallas, like they did against the Rams last time they played, they're a hard team to beat.
Does Stafford have to win this week, or is that playoff monkey already kind of gone?
Well, no, he's got to win. I mean, he's there to get him to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. And he knows what it's all about. I don't think he feels any pressure doing it. But yeah, I mean, he was traded for in the off season last year, which got the off season started around this time last year. He was brought in there to win a Super Bowl. So for them to go and lose to San Francisco at home for the 3rd time in a season, that would be a crushing disappointment to Matt Stafford and the entire Rams organization.
Baldy, what's your take on the overtime? I know when you played, it was a different overtime rule altogether. It was just a sudden death. But what should they do, if anything, to the playoff overtime?
Well, it's been tweaked a bunch. The overtime rule in the playoffs is different than the overtime rule in the regular season. The regular season is a 10-minute overtime, and if at the end of 10 minutes the score is still tied, as we saw this year, Pittsburgh and Detroit, whatever game you pick, that's the finality. But it's not like that in the playoffs. So if it's already different in the playoffs, I don't think anybody feels like Josh Allen shouldn't get a chance with the ball in his hands, regardless of Kansas City scored a touchdown. I don't think anybody feels that way. I mean, the reason why it's if you score a touchdown, the game is over, it's out of player safety. But they've already told you in the playoffs, player safety isn't the most important or critical factor.
Right.
Winning is. So if winning is the most critical factor, which it should be, and I'm not knocking player safety or anything like that, but everybody knows it's sudden death. And if you lose, you go home. You don't have to worry about putting a bucket on your helmet, on your head for the next 6 months. So if that's what it's all about, then Josh Allen should be able to go out there and give his team a chance to go and match that score.
How can Cincinnati pull this off in KC?
Well, they just did it. They just did it at the end of the season. Week 17, they just went to, Kansas City went there. They put up 34 points. They threw for 450 yards. They couldn't stop Jamar Chase in the game. I mean, they already have the formula. I mean, if you want to get into a track meet the way it was in the fourth quarter and overtime, last weekend, they have all of that ability to do it. And the quarterback has already shown the world that you can hit him as many times as you want. Like, he's just going to keep getting up off the ground. He's going to keep throwing passes. Like, you're not going to stop him from what he does. So, and defensively, if you make a mistake, they'll pounce on it. Whether it's in protection, whether it's route combination, or whether your quarterback is staring down a receiver, they have all of the ability at every position on defense to go make it. So, deflected passes, they're gonna get their share of them. They had 2 interceptions off deflected passes last weekend. Cincinnati feels very confident about this game.
Baldy, was there a coaching miscue you had the biggest problem with this past weekend?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's impossible for Sean McDermott not to have sleepless nights over kicking the ball with 13 seconds to go in the game, out of the end zone. Like, that ball should have been squibbed, and it should have been put in the field of play. The clock starts when somebody touches the ball in the field of play. That ball should have been squibbed. It shouldn't have been Pooch kicked or anything else. It should have been squibbed on the ground where you got to field the ball, and time should have been taken off the clock. I thought that was a critical mistake on Sean McDermott's side.
Have you ever played for someone that you felt or knew was a lame duck coach? And does that really have an effect on the team in what you think is that guy's final year?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I played for Rich Kotite in Philadelphia. He wasn't a great coach. We played hard for him. We lost to the Dallas Cowboys, but nobody was going to beat the Cowboys in 1992. But we had probably more talent than just about anybody else in the league, and they kept him around for one more year. But everybody kind of knew that the way that we practiced and our game plans were inferior to a lot of other teams. But we still won our share of games because of the talent we had. But I don't believe players lay down because they got a laden duck coach. I think players play, and sometimes you have more arsenal because your coach thinks through more situations and are prepared for more situations. But players don't really know that until the situation arises.
Where do you think the best fit for Aaron Rodgers is if he decides to leave?
Well, I think that I would have said prior to yesterday that New Orleans could be a great fit. They got a championship level defense. They've got a world-class running back. They've got a great offensive line. They're going to get Michael Thomas back. They'll draft some people. But I always thought Pittsburgh would be a great place for him. It's not a star place, driven. I mean, it's not a star city, let's say, but it's a winning city. They know what football is all about. They've already been chanting, "We want your quarterback." The Green Bay Packers in Week 4 this year. We're going to steal your quarterback, is what they said. When I was up there, but I thought that would have been a good place. So I think there's a half a dozen places out there where you could go there and take them to the promised land.
Baldy, last one. We got all these rumors with Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore and everyone getting second interviews. Is there a marriage out there that just seems like a perfect fit to you? Whether it's Quinn, whether it's Kellen, whoever the Giants hire, Flores interviewing as well. Is there a fit that you just think should happen because it would be a match made in heaven?
I don't know, match made in heaven. I mean, that makes it sound like he's going to bring a Super Bowl wherever he goes. They just usually you want something opposite of what you just had. So I don't know if Las Vegas decides to hire a coach, would Dan Quinn be a good coach? I think he coached the Las Vegas Raiders really well, a good leader of that organization if they decide to do that. The Chicago Bears seems like, they're defensively driven. They got a lot of talent on that side of the ball. I'm sure they could mold them a little bit better maybe than Matt Nagy did. I think the two places that look like they make a lot of sense to me.